Well, so the title of my presentation today is Telling a Research Story, Structuring and Writing a Results section of a scientific article. Um, I would like to share with you these quotes taken from authors. You can read their names on the screen. And I think those quotes characterize very well the process of selecting results that you want to present when you write a scientific paper or a research paper or a research article. So the first quote is, science is facts. Just as houses are made of stones, so is science made of facts. But a pile of stones is not a house, and a collection of facts is not necessarily science. Well, and another quote, the fool collects facts, the wise man or woman selects them. Well, so it's something that is very important to take into account, that when we finish our research, we have a lot of results, but when we organize our research paper, it's not necessary to present all of them. Well, we only select the relevant ones. Well, so let's start with a short introduction. I would like to comment that due to the results govern and the content and structure of the whole article, it's important to be as clear as possible about the main points of your results story at the beginning of the writing process. So some authors recommend to start to organize your future research article from results sections for these reasons. Well, they suggest that your first task when preparing to write a paper is to identify from your results a clearly connected story which leads to one or more take-home messages. This term, take-home messages, refers to what readers remember after they have put the paper down. What they talk to their colleagues about over a cup of coffee next day, for example. To move toward this clear story, focus on your tables and figures first. Sort the figures and tables into the best order to connect the pieces of the story together. Draft some bullet points into a list to form a take-home message. Then sit down with all you co-authors and discuss the story of the paper that you will write. Aim to reach agreement on which data should be included, what are the important points that form the story of the paper, and what is the take-home message or messages. This is also a good time to decide on who will be listed as authors of the paper and to discuss potential target journals.
Excuse me, Irina.
Yeah.
Have you changed the slides, or you still have the same with the quotes?
No, the same. Okay. I am,
Great.
I am finished this introduction. Well, once these foundation steps are completed, you are ready to begin writing the various sections of the manuscript itself. Well, as I told you that the first step you make when you select the results for your article, you decide on your tables and figures. Well, so I want to start from an exercise that I invite you to do, how to report or to describe the results well, that were put in this case in the table. Yeah. For example, here you can see the table, well, number 7. Well, the title of the table, search results for the word data in MICOSP. And MICOSP is Michigan Corpus of Upper Level Students paper. Well, that contains papers taken from 16 disciplines Well, so here you can see the results of the frequency of the word data according to each discipline. Well, looking at this table, what can you see? You can see that some disciplines have highest frequency and some disciplines lowest frequency. As there is a case of engineering, if you could observe, so industrial engineering or, for example, mechanical engineering, okay, industrial has more frequency per 10,000 of words. Well, but if you compare engineering fields with, for example, linguistics, you can find only 9% of frequency per 10,000 words. Okay. Well, so I am going to read you the approximate description of these results. If suppose we present these results in a table, in a manuscript, well, so we, of course, we should relay the table and describe what result this table contains. The results for data are shown in table 7. The results broadly reflect how technical discipline tends to be. Yeah, frequencies are on average highest in engineering and science, lowest in the humanities, with the social sciences falling in the middle. Exceptions to these overall findings are the relatively low frequency for physics, 6.3% by per 10,000 words, and the high numbers for economics, yeah, 16.2 per 10,000 words. In the former case, it should be borne in mind that much of physics is highly theoretical. In the latter, the economics has become much more mathematical in recent decades. Okay, so what could you observe from my description? That I did not present each number because those numbers you can appreciate in the table. So I only focused on highest, lowest numbers. Well, and I made a kind of speculation about those tendencies that we can observe in this case in relation to the word data, well, search in Mikus corpus. Well, I would like to propose to you to start our meeting, well, from something practical. Well, I propose you to go to this corpus. Here you have the direction. Well, elicorpora.info. It's easy to get it. Well, so go to this page and try to perform the following searches. Yeah. The question is, what might you expect to be the results for the following searches in MICOS? For example, for word language, well, for word common function word if, or for the noun life. Well, and here you have some specific questions, well, I would like you to answer. Well, so I can give you, what, 3, maybe 5 minutes to do it. Well, and then we continue with our presentation. So let's go to the corpus, Mika's corpus. Could you see the direction, the link?
Yeah? Yes, we see it. And I'll share it in the chat or if anyone needs it.
Okay, so please go to this
So in
link.
the chat is the link.
Well, when you on the page of this corpus, well, you can see this components of the page, okay, as I show you right now. Well, so and you can start with doing the search I propose. So first search for word language. Well, the 16th discipline you can observe on the left of the page. Here you have disciplines. Well, and the abbreviation of these disciplines are below of bar chart. Okay, so who is the first? Well, what are the results for language?
Linguistics
Linguistics.
is the first.
No, okay, linguistics. What could you tell us what happened?
490 entries in linguistics.
Yep.
32% are research papers, 2% response papers, 12% argumentative essays.
Okay, but how you understand this information? That those percentage is the presence of this word in
in the typology, in the type of
in the type of paper. Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, but what is the second discipline in using the word language? The first is linguistic, yeah. But what is the second one?
Psychology.
Psychology. Okay. So here, okay, we can select per 10,000 words. So the frequency in psychology is 8.34. Okay. No, but it's not the second, yeah? It's the third. And what is the second place? Which discipline is on the second place?
Education, 1144.
Yes, education. Okay. As you can see, well, so, and this table is a way of presenting quantitative results in this case, yeah? Okay, well, let's look for the word function word if. So the question is, well, we can make hypothesis that if might have a fairly even distribution. However, the average use of if in one of the 16 disciplines is much higher than that of the other disciplines. Which one is it? This is the question. Okay. What could you get?
Philosophy.
Excuse me?
Philosophy.
Philosophy.
Yep.
So philosophy is one of the 16 disciplines that has higher frequency. Yeah.
37.05.
Okay. Philosophy.
Yeah, mainly in report papers.
Okay. Philosophy. Well, so the distribution on our hypothesis that distribution would be even, well, does not function, yeah? In philosophy, okay, if you want to continue searching why, for example, philosophy use if more times than any other discipline. You can select this column, and below you can see the real examples taken from academic papers of students. Well, where function word if is used, okay, and you can see it in context how is functioning in context. Okay, and finally, excuse me.
Yeah, may I say something there?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's like natural that language is a word very common in linguistics and in education, and it also sounds like logical that if is quite frequent in philosophy, right?
Why do you know this, Orlando?
It's part of the discipline or the kind of knowledge and the kind of
Experience,
argumentation, topical and argumentative.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Well, but it's the way how we can prove our hypothesis, yeah, in relation to use of different words in different disciplines, yeah. Okay. Finally, we have the third word. It's life. Well, and what are the hypothesis? Well, maybe biology or nursing have the highest frequency for life, but let's see if it's true or it's false. Which field do you think might use this noun the most? Life. And you prove your hypothesis looking for life in the search. Okay, so which discipline uses life more?
Philosophy again.
Philosophy again?
No, engineering. Life, yeah, engineering is the discipline with the highest number.
Yeah, quite surprising.
Yeah.
I got English here. I don't know why they're showing different results, because I have English here.
And I have English as well.
Okay, English. In English discipline, okay, but you know that English is considered as a discipline.
English, yeah.
Yeah, English. The second place, I think, nursing. Yeah, the second place. Well, surprisingly.
English.
Yeah, English.
Yes.
Nursing.
And biology, well, we expected that biology would have the highest frequency, but not. Yeah. Okay. Well, so in this case, well, you search or you investigate, yeah, about different uses of different words in different disciplines and in different academic papers. Okay. And at the end, you obtain some results. Well, and those results or the description of those results, of course, should correspond to your objectives or of the objectives of your study. Yeah. Okay, it was something practical. Now let's go to the presentation. Okay. So this presentation is aimed at providing advice on research production and helping scholars overcome writing difficulties, principally for results section of research article in applied linguistics. Well, because it's worth noting that the distribution of different section in research article is different in the, for example, social sciences or natural sciences. Yeah. Okay, and we're going to see what happens in the research article of applied linguistics. Well, so the content includes 3 parts. The first part is about placing a results section in a research article. The second part, turning the data into knowledge, how we select tables and figures and report the results, how we write quantitative and qualitative results, and how we comment on tables and figures. And finally, well, we finish with some recommendation how to assess the quality of writing of results sections for my manuscript. Okay. So let's go with the first part, placing a results section in a research article. Well, and the question is, what place does a results section have in a research article? In this case, well, I put a subtitle or subheading that results versus discussion. Why do you think I put this subtitle? Results versus discussion. What happens with the results and discussion sections?
Well, the results are the descriptive part, and then the discussion is the interpretive part.
Yes, but well, if you look at journals in applied linguistics, you can notice that in many journals, results and discussion parts go together. Yeah, they are combined. So it's something that we should take into consideration when we prepare our manuscript. If we are going to write result section apart from discussion section, or we are going to unite them. Yeah. But really, the recommendation is to have them separately. Although in upper 7th editions, they said that it depends on the journal norms. If the journal norms permit to combine results and discussion sections or discussion and conclusion section, so you can do it. Yeah. So it's necessary to look at journal norms. Well, but anyway, the results section is difficult to handle, even though it is considered a crucial portion that drives the paper and should therefore be written first. This is a recommendation of these authors and other authors in many books about writing. Well, so let's look at the typical distribution of different parts of research article. Well, it's the famous model. Here in the name of the figure, we have the abbreviation IMRAD. That means abstract, introduction, methods, results, and discussion. Yeah. But not, as I said before, not all research articles are organized in such a way. Okay. But Cargill and O'Connor recommends to start to organize your manuscript from specifically result section. So that's why they put result section as A, yeah, in the first place. Although the result section is after is going after method sections, yeah. The reason is that the whole structure is governed by the results box. Everything in the article must relate to and be connected with the data and analysis presented in the results section. So the recommendation is the first step to work on the results section, and then you complement with the other section of your article. Well, here we have another scheme for distribution of different sections in the article, including results and discussion. In this case, results and discussion go together. Yeah, as you can see, in A, results and discussion correspond to one section. They are combined. In this case, the model is AIMRAD. Yeah. Okay, abstract, introduction, materials and methods, repeated results and discussion, and conclusions. It's another structure variation that is permitted in some journals. Okay. But remember, if we are speaking about applied linguistic journals or journals in foreign language teaching, well, they include another section that here is not represented, this section of literature review. Yeah? And this literature review section comes after introduction. Well, and sometimes literature review is included in introduction section, but our focus now on results section. Okay, there is another distribution, another possibility. Well, but it's not usual for applied linguistics to have this distribution, but it's usual, for example, for research article in philosophy field. Yeah, they have this distribution, and so the results section as such does not exist. The results are incorporated in a body of the article. If we are speaking about philosophical article, yeah. Well, now let's look at different places that results section may occupy in a research article. So there are three models, as you can see in this slide. Well, the first model, when the results section is separated from discussion and conclusion. Oh, excuse me. In the second model, results and discussion come together, and then conclusion. In the third model, results is separated, and discussion and conclusions come together. Yeah. Again, I repeat, if you are not sure how to organize or which model to select to organize your results section, so you should look at, first of all, the recommendation, which is called the instruction to contributors, sometimes called instruction to authors or authors guidelines in a specific journal. Well, and in those recommendations, probably you find the information of what model they permit to use in their journal. Yeah. If they do not mention, don't provide this information, so you can look at articles published in this journal and how the results section is organized in these journals. Yeah, it's another possibility to consult and to know how you organize your results section. Okay. Well, speaking about headings for results section, well, many times it's called results. Yeah. But we can find other headings for the results section as findings, for example, or analysis and results, or data analysis. Well, and some authors strongly recommend to have results or findings section separately from discussion section. Okay. Well, and it's worth clarifying the difference between data and results as concepts. Yeah, data consists of facts and numbers, and these are generally presented in tables and figures. Yeah, so the data are those numbers you can observe in the tables or in the figure. But results are statements in the main text that summarize or explain what the data show. So many times we call results, well, those numbers presented in tables or figures we call as results, but really those are not results. If you do not describe them, if you do not present them in a verbal form, so well, they do not results. When you do it, so you have the results, and you can introduce your results using these expressions. Overall, the results presented below show that, or the three key results of this empirical study are, or the following emergent themes were identified from the analysis, and so on. Okay, there are many possibilities of introducing your results in results section. Well, anyway, well, you know that APA norms are governed in many journals, and in Colombia, APA norms are welcome too. Yeah, in our university, University of Valle, well, we recommend our students using APA norms, and you know that the last edition was it's number 7 edition of APA norms, and they provide a complete detailed description about how results and finding sections should be presented, yeah, or finding section. In this case, results or findings are synonyms. Well, and here I organize this table according to APA 7th edition, and here you can see 3 columns organized according to kind of research, or of course, kind of results you are presenting. If you're presenting quantitative research results or qualitative or mixed methods research results. Well, and those are recommendations. We can see some of them because they are many, and in the original book you can find more details about this presentation, but principally, well, we can highlight the following ones. So in a case of quantitative results, well, it's necessary to speak or to present participants' flow. Well, to report the flow of participants, including total number of participants in each group at each stage of the study, flow of participants through each stage of the study. So the part of participants' flow is important to present the research result. Although you have some information in method section, but in the research section, well, you present the information about participant flow. Another information is in relation to recruitment. It's to provide dates defining the periods of recruitment and repeated measures of follow-up. When, for example, we have participants, but we have them in different periods of our research, so it's necessary to describe how you organize this recruitment. Okay, and finally, in quantitative research results, you present statistics and data analysis. Okay, well, here the recommendation is to provide information detailing the statistical and data analytic methods used, including missing data, descriptions of each primary and secondary outcome, including the total sample and each subgroup, well, and different kind of statistic, inferential statistic, complex data analysis, estimation problems, other data analysis performed. Okay, it depends on the study. Well, you performed, what kind of statistics you have. And the last recommendation to report any problems with statistical assumptions, yeah, because the researchers tend not to say anything about the problems, but the recommendation of APA is yes, you should include the problems with statistical assumptions and data distribution that could affect the validity of findings. So those are kind of synthesis, yeah, to present quantitative research. As I told you, in a complete version of APA style manual, you can find more details about this. In qualitative research, for qualitative research, well, the results you present in a way that is compatible with the study design. As you know that The design for qualitative research may be based on different types of research, as ethnography or narrative research, or maybe based on observations, on interviews, on focus groups. So it depends how you present your results. It depends on this kind of the kind of research you are performed. But the recommendation is, well, you may present diagrams, tables, models, if they help to organize and to clarify findings of your study. Well, then, excuse me, also the recommendation is, well, if you use photographs, it's possible too, well, or videos, so you include the links to videos in your research section part. Excuse me, the results section part. Then, for example, in a part of guidance for authors for presenting qualitative results, you can find this recommendation: findings presented in an artistic manner, for example, a link to dramatic presentation of findings, should also include information in the reporting standards to support the research presentation. And the using of quotes and excerpts to augment data description is welcome too. Well, it may include thick evocative description, field notes, text excerpts, and so on. But this should not replace the description of the finding of the analysis. Okay. And in the guidance for reviewer for qualitative results, we can find the following recommendation. Yeah, the finding section tends to be longer than in quantitative papers. Well, obviously, yeah, because if you present text excerpts, field notes, and well, other information, it may fill in more space than in quantitative results. Depending on the approach, inquiry, findings, and discussion may be combined or personalized. Discursive style might be used to portray the researcher's involvement in the analysis. Findings may not include quantitative information depending upon the study goals, approach to inquiry, and study characteristics. Okay, and finally, when you present mixed methods results, so you can follow the recommendation for quantitative results, for presenting quantitative results, and for presenting qualitative results. Well, but there is the recommendation to indicate how the qualitative and quantitative results were mixed or integrated. Well, and later I will show you how you can do it in, for example, in mixed method tables. And then you have guidance for authors that recommend that the findings section typically includes section on qualitative findings, quantitative results, and mixed method results. Yeah. This section should mirror the type of mixed methods design in terms of sequence. Well, of course, because there are different research designs according to sequence. Well, convergence, parallel, or sequential designs. So the recommendation is to present results in the same sequence. And in guidance for reviewer for mixed methods results, well, you can find the information well about how to convey mixed methods analysis through joint display tables or graphs that array qualitative results. When you present different categories or themes you identified from your reports. Again, the quantitative results, for example, categorical or continuous data. This enables researchers to directly compare results or to see how results differ between the quantitative and qualitative strands. Okay, those recommendations you can find in the 7th edition. Okay, question?
Yes, does anybody have a question? Okay, go ahead.
Can I ask a question or a comment there? Regarding the...
Sure.
Sorry. May I?
Yes, of course, Orlando. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Regarding mixed methods, it's a challenge, the discussion, because you have to really integrate the quantity and the quality. And that's quite difficult for novice researchers or researchers that are new to mixed methods. And we tend to present separately quantity and quality, and the quid of mixed methods is the integration, right?
Right. Right. It's really, it's not so easy task. Well, but we can try. So may I continue?
Yes, please.
Okay. So again, to highlight the difference between the results section and discussion section, and someone of you tell me that the result section is describing, to describe the outcomes of the study, the main function of this section, and the main function of discussion section is to interpret the most significant results of the study. Well, from the point of view of research done in text gender studies, that investigate different moves and steps that are used in real research article, in this case, in results section. Well, we can find the following. In this case, you can see the recommendation taken from the George Mason University Writing Center. And this recommendation is updated because it's 2019, and you can see here that move is a general approximation and step is a specific one. So you can see the move, the steps, and sample of language or what linguistic expression we can use. Well, and this is for results section, and for discussion section, there are more moves. You can observe them. Well, the same, the general move, then the specific step, and the examples of how to use sample, how to use language in order to present this or another move. Okay, there are more research about distribution of different moves. For example, Young and Allison's in 2003 established those moves and steps for results and discussion sections in the research article in Applied Linguistics. Well, and you can observe in these two columns that some of these moves match each other. For example, here we in results section we have move to reporting results, and in discussion section we have the same move reporting results. We have move 3 commenting on results, and discussion section we have commenting on results too. But they establish that if the researcher follows there is the separate distribution, the results section and discussion section, so the main move in this case will be reporting results, only reporting, presenting results, yeah? And the main move in discussion section in this case will be interpreting results, comparing results with literature, and accounting for results. Well, the rest of the moves, well, are present, but they are not so predominant. Yeah, but you can see, because this distribution is based on real writing of different researchers. So you can see that the writers, well, combined different moves and steps, well, maybe according to their needs. Yeah, according to the norms that they find in the corresponding journal for writing results or discussion section. Anyway, well, all the references of the authors I put here. Well, at the end of this presentation, I read the complete reference. If you are interested in knowing more detail about how to distribute information in the results section or discussion section, you can consult those references directly in the articles. Well, and this is the most recent research about distribution of moves and steps in a combined results and discussion section. Yeah, when the author decides to combine those sections, so those are possible moves. And this research is done in 2018. Well, and all of those research are based on articles in applied linguistics. Well, now let's go to the second part. Well, how we turn the data into knowledge. Okay. Well, what we do, we may use for figure, table, or text. Well, in this table, you have some recommendation. It's most useful to use table when you work with numbers. Yeah, but when you work with a shape to represent shape, it's more useful to work with figures. And the same is most useful to when you are concentrating on individual data values, so you select table presentation. Yeah, if you concentrate on overall pattern, you present it in figure. Well, we use tables when accurate or precise actual values are more important, but we use figure if or when accurate and precise actual values are less important. So those are brief recommendation for using tables or figures. Well, and again, there are some official recommendations in APA Manual 7th edition. So here you can find some general recommendation. Well, that tables should be integral to the text so that they are concise and can be understood in isolation. Well, the principle of conciseness is relevant not only for tables included with the main text, but also for tables to be placed in appendices and supplemental materials. Although supplemental tables may be longer and more detailed than tables that accompany the main text, they must be directly and clearly related to the content of the article. Speaking about supplemental tables, those tables are usually longer than the table you use in the body of the document. Yeah, so supplemental table you use as appendices. Okay. Well, and this is the distribution of components of a table according to APA 7th edition norms. Yeah. So, well, some of these elements you have already know, but I want to highlight the elements that we are not always use when we present the results in table. And I am speaking about notes, the parts of notes. Yeah, because the table number, the table title, rows, columns, okay, those aspects or components we have already known, but the parts of notes that may be written below the table have specific specific recommendation, yeah, and the APA norms says tables may have 3 kinds of notes, which are placed below the body of the table: general notes, specific notes, and probability notes. So general note qualifies, explains, or provides information relating to the table as a whole and explains any abbreviations. Well, I was looking for different articles that present results and tables, and I noticed that not all the authors explains, for example, abbreviation used in tables. Yeah, and it's as you see, is a norm. You should explain any abbreviation. It does not matter that you explained this abbreviation before, that it's necessary to explain it again. That remember that one of the principles that the table, when you look at the table as a reader, you understand it without additional information from the text. Yeah. So, in specific note, or specific note refers to a particular column, row, or cell. Specific notes are indicated by superscript lower letters. As you can see here, for example, here 240 and the letter B. Yeah, small letter B. Well, this is subsequent specific notes follow in the same paragraph. Yeah? And finally, we have the third type of note, a probability note. It's in a case of presenting statistical data, and it's for p values. Appears as a separated paragraph below. Well, to indicate p-values and thus the significance of the results of statistical hypothesis testing. Well, in general terms, but if you want to detail those components, so I recommend you go directly to APA norms, okay? Well, here we have another short exercise. That I'm going to explain. Yeah? So, when we present quantitative results in table, well, it's necessary to refer to the table and present those quantitative results. Presents making a short description. Yeah. So I want you to look at this table that presents quantitative results of survey respondents, yeah, profile of students survey respondents, okay? And we have 2 descriptions. This description, the first description, excuse me, one moment. The first description was taken from original article by Pierce. Well, and the second description was taken from Brown, yeah, but the description of the same table. So I ask you to read those descriptions, look at the table. Well, I hope you understand the information, looking at the table and this short description, and then tell, please, which description you consider is the best and why. Okay, is it clear, my instruction?
Yes, it is, totally.
Okay, so take your 3 minutes to do it, yeah, because you're advanced students, you can do it quickly. So look at the table, analyze the 2 descriptions of the same table, and tell which description you consider is better and why. Do you see the text well?
Yes,
Yes, it's legible.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, please do it. Well, someone wants to start?
Well, I think the first one is better.
The first one?
Yep. The one by
Why?
peers.
Why, Carlos?
Well, because it's focusing on, I mean, it provides more information, more details, and it focuses on the different aspects of the chart. I mean, without mentioning one by one each line, each row in the table. So it highlights in which categories the majority of the students will, for example, with semesters of studies, which is the major that most frequently reported, and the future plans most frequently reported as well. But it also comments on one of the limitations when it says the survey did not capture what the students plan to teach in the US or overseas. Um, so, it gives like, it highlights what is the highest frequency in each category, and it points some of the limitations and what aspects can, I mean, what the survey tells us and what the survey does not tell us.
Okay.
I think.
And who has different opinion?
Did I fail?
Carlos says that table, or excuse me, the first, the original version is the best. This version.
I have the same opinion with different reasons, let's say.
Okay, tell me, Orlando.
The second one, he describes the table, which is not necessary, and it's quite redundant in the information presented. You give the frequencies and the percentages. The first one is better in the sense that it is more on the interpretation, grouping the data, and it's more the result of the analysis. It's not just presenting, repeating the data, because that's a common mistake we make. We repeat the table, the information in the table in the text, which is not the best option.
But is not the repetition? There is more repetition in the first version than in the second.
No.
The second is more repetitive, more redundant.
Really?
The second. Yep, that's what I see.
Well,
did you say 7 equal 20%, 9 equal 26%, 19 equal 54%? Do you need that degree of detail?
Yeah. Well, I think I agree with Orlando. In the first paragraph, we can see a very good level of analysis of the results. So it's not just repeating the raw data. The writer is presenting a level of analysis, so he's extracting the findings from the data. And also, the writer is also grouping the main information and showing to the reader, okay, this is the main information that I got from this raw data. Well, in that sense, the first paragraph is better compared to the second one. The second one is just repeating the information, repeating the raw data.
Well, so I can tell you that the second description, it was a criticism by Brown of this description and of this table, yeah? And he is presenting his own description for this table as in his words, that is the better than the previous one.
Well, both have strengths and weaknesses, right? For instance, the second one, the first line is probably better, if that is the idea, than the first one. The table presents the profile of the students who answered the survey. That's more accurate than saying table one reports the profile of student respondents. But it's quite the same. It's just words, I think.
So maybe we can take some useful moments from one description and from another. Yeah. Well, because Brown criticizes this description, he says uh, what he says. He says. Um, for example, that he referred to the table by a name that corresponds to the table. Excuse me, to the table. Yeah. So according to him, well, we should repeat the table title or name. Yeah, when we introduce the table. Well, so it's the first criticism of Brown. Yeah. Uh, and for example, he said that it's important to include the demographic variables. Yeah. And to tell the readers what sorts of numerical information to look for in second and in third columns. Because it was not necessary to present those numbers because those numbers are in columns. Yeah. And he criticizes, for example, the presence of repetitive information in the table. This one, total 35, 100%, total 35, 100%, total 35, 100%. So he says it's redundant. It's redundant and it should be excluded from the table. Okay, I am commenting criticism of one researcher of another researcher. Yeah. Well, and you can make your own conclusions. Okay.
Yes.
Well, very good. So now, I show you another table that present descriptive statistics for students' self-reported GPR scores in the Spanish version of the ALC scale and scores in the ALC by sex. And I invite Carlos Mayora to explain those results because it was taken from his article published more or less recently. Well, and please explain us your results presented in this table, Carlos.
Okay. Let's see if I remember.
I help you. I help you. I
Okay.
have here the description taken from your article.
You have the chancuco. Okay. Well, so these were the variables in the study. So you have the reported grade grade point average of the students, and the means of 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 that variable was 3.48, right? The next column is the standard deviation, which was 0.5. Um, the scale was from 1 to 5, right? The lowest reported GPA was 2.10, and the highest 4.8. Now the ALC is academic locus of control score. Well, in the reported GPA, we have 179 students who reported that information. In the academic locus of control score, we have also 179 scores. The means was 7.26. The standard deviation was 3.59. The lowest score was 1, and the highest score was 17. But that's the whole population. And then we have the results for female and male. So in female, we have 77 students, and male, we had 102 students.
Mhm.
And as you can see, the mean for males is a little bit higher than the means for females.
Mhm.
Um, so is the standard deviation. And males score, I mean, the highest score was reported in the males,
Mhm.
right?
Okay, Carlos, and after,
Well, do you want a description of the table or the interpretation? I mean, I'm sorry.
well, of course, the description is a little bit different. Well, but tell me, after listening to my observations and according to APA norms, what can you self-criticize about your table?
What can I self-criticize about my table?
Yeah.
Oh well,
Okay.
how well, we have I'm using the acronym, the abbreviations,
Mm-hmm.
with no explanation of which each means, and there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
acronyms.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's yeah. I think it's the main observation. Yeah. It's necessary to put the note, general note for explaining those abbreviation, because of course you understand those abbreviation and you introduce them in the text, but the reader should understand the table without the text. Yeah. And of course, in the case of statistical knowledge, okay, it's supposed that the reader should have this statistical knowledge to understand what is the meaning of X, that is referring to mean, or SD, standard deviation. Well,
deviation.
okay, good, good. Well, thank you very much. Well, and we have another table of another researcher we have in our group. Well, Alexandro Ramirez. Well, he did the research about evaluating different items in placement test for university students. Well, and I invite Alex to explain these results represented in the table in the article he published recently this year. Mhm.
Okay, so this table gathers the data for the measurements of the difficulty index. So this was one of the indexes that we measured in UVPLAT, which was, as you said, is one exam that we designed, a placement test that we designed for Universidad del Valle. And so what we can see here is that in every column that says item, well, it corresponds to one of the questions of the exam. So that exam, that particular exam, had 52 different questions, and we measured the IF, which stands for difficulty index, in each question. And so, yeah, what we wanted to show here is that some of those, I mean, like based on the results can range from 0 to 1. And so those results that are closer to 0 are they are very difficult, and those results who are closer to 1 are very easy. And so the chart was intended to help isolate those items that needed further revision, either because they were too easy or too difficult for the level that we were trying to assess.
Mhm. Okay, Alex, and the same question. What can you self-evaluate in this presentation of this table?
Okay, again, as in Carlos' case, I have only acronyms, so I am not actually telling what the acronym stands for. And this, I mean, like in order to understand and actually interpret these values, we need a little table of reference which show the ranges. I mean, which range represents too difficult or easy or too easy or moderate. So I think it should be here. I mean, it is somewhere else in the article, but not here, which means that maybe the reader will have to go up and look for the reference table and then come down and do well, the interpretation. And actually, I don't remember if after this I wrote a note. I think I wrote a note describing the data, but there's also another mistake, and it's that unfortunately, I mean, like I used grayscale in different shades of gray to show the most difficult ones and the easiest ones. And apparently when the editorial was doing the layout for the paper, they erased all the shadows and the highlights that I had made, so it doesn't actually discriminate. So it's just a chart with numbers that might not be very clear for a reader who sees this for the first time.
Okay, thank you very much, Alexander. Thank you. Well, let's continue. I will show you some more different kinds of tables that you can use. For example, okay, in this case, to present, well, the presentation was of quantitative results, yeah? But for the case of presentation of qualitative results in tables, well, I selected some tables from different authors too. Well, for example, in this table, you can observe comments from the post-term interview with the second teacher. Well, it means that there is a table with comments with the first teacher, yeah? And you can see that the table is organized in 3 columns. That means positive comments, neutral comments, and negative comments. Well, and the excerpts taken from teacher's interview written corresponding to this kind of comments. Another example is taken from, by the way, in APA Manual 7th edition, you can find the models of 16 different tables. Yeah, I only selected some of them because it was impossible to show you all the 16 models, but it's a good news. You have the possibility to show or to know different kinds of tables you can organize according to the needs of your results presentation. In this case, for example, you see the table that presents master narrative voices, struggle and success and emancipation. And again, the table is organized in 2 columns. In the first column, you have the categories and sub categories. And in the second column, you have a quote that corresponds to each subcategory. Well, it's another way to organize qualitative results. Well, another example of qualitative table that incorporate quantitative data taken from APA 7th edition. You can see that here the qualitative data is combined with quantitative data. Again, we have the table that is named the reasons why individuals choose to watch the royal wedding. Yeah, it represents that 45 individuals were interviewed or were questionnaire were applied. Okay, and here we have 3 columns. 1 column for reason, for interest represented in a specific category. Then we have the second column of example, quote, and the third column frequency of these responses. Okay, of this kind of responses. Well, and this table is very interesting because it's a sample mixed method table. Well, it's called integrated results matrix for the effects of topic familiarity on reliance on author expertise. Okay, and here you can see that again the table is organized in 3 columns. In the first column you have quantitative results, but representing in verbal form. Yeah, if you read it, you can realize that it's this results about something quantitative. Well, in this second column you have qualitative results. And in the third column, example quote of the corresponding participant. Yeah, and below the table, in order to understand the table, you have a general note. Yeah, that says we integrated quantitative data where the students selected a card about nuclear power or about climate change, and qualitative data interviews with students to provide a more comprehensive description of students' card selection between the 2 topics. Okay, so you can understand this data easier with all those notes. Well, and finally, the principles of figure construction you can find in APA 7 edition 2, and they are very similar to principles of table constructions. They should be easy to understand, carefully planned and prepared. They should omit visually distracted details, conveys only essential information, and so on. Well, and here you can see different kinds of figures. Well, really, there are a lot of different types or kinds of figures. But in our case, the more appropriate figures are different graphs. And graphs may be of different kinds. Here you have some of them. Well, and for example, if you use pie charts, they are effective at highlighting proportions of total or whole. And column and bar charts are effective for comparing the values of different categories when they are independent or of each other. Line charts, it's this chart, line chart, yeah, allow the display of a sequence of variables in time or space, or the display of other dependent relationships. And radar charts, this is radar charts, are useful when categories are not directly comparable. Well, and again, in APA manual, you can find the components of a figure, and many of these components you have already known. The figure, how you write the figure, number of figures should be in Arabic numbers, and the title should be in italics. Well, and again, below the figure, you can write 3 types of notes if necessary. Well, remember that writing of notes sometimes is necessary, sometimes not. Yeah, if some graphs are clear without notes, but other graphs needs notes in order to explain some information presented here. Well, and here we again we have more examples taken from a real research article written by our colleagues and other authors. In this case, for example, we can see the figures presenting results of frequencies of lexical items representing North American citizens and the lexical items representing French citizens. Well, and for example, I could not tell you any word about the research, but you can understand those figures. Yeah, that's the adjectives and words or nouns used for representing American citizens. For example, the most frequent the first 5: tall, blonde, English, gringo, dollars. Okay, war in the 6th place. Yeah, and the lexical items representing French citizens: Eiffel Tower, 1st place; perfume, love, bread, fashion, art. Yeah, look, in American Citizens War, in French Citizens Art on the 6th place. Okay, so it's a kind of presentation that is easily understandable and very useful to present, in this case, frequencies of lexical items used to describe, in this case, American and French citizens. And it was research done by our colleagues, Alvarez Valencia with Legal, Gale, another colleague from San Buenaventura, University of San Buenaventura. Okay. And here we have another representation in graphs or in figures, taken again from the same research of Alvarez and Legale. And here, well, you look at this figure and you can understand it without looking at the research, yeah? So you can see graph bars or graphic represented in bars, and two different colors, blue for feminine, red for masculine, and you have in the vertical axis occurrences, and in horizontal axis items associated with French and American citizens, but divided in negative items and positive items. And so you can see this and compare those associations. Okay. And finally, another figure that it was taken from Boku and Razi, 2016, and well, it represented the comparison of two textbooks from Serious Life. One textbook oriented at A1 level, another at A2 level. Well, according to different categories that were analyzed in the activities presented in these two books. So again, with different colors, so you can see those categories: target culture, source culture, international culture, non-culture focus, and you can see and make your deduction or conclusions from these figure representations. Yeah, how many activities and what kind of activities and types of culture is used in each of these textbooks. Okay. Well, so when you refer to tables or figures in the text, well, you can use different linguistic expressions. So these ones, I put some examples, as shown in table 1, the demographic characteristics. Figure 2 shows the event-related potentials. Or you can use the reference to table of figures at the end of the description sentence. Okay, it's an important observation that I found in APA manual. If you reprint or adapt a table or figure, because sometimes we do it, yeah, from another source in your paper, or for example, a table from your own published work, an image you found on the internet, you must include a copyright attribution. Well, it's a very important notice. In the table note or figure note indicating the origin of the reprinted or adapted material, in addition to reference list entry for the work. You may also need to obtain permission from the copyright holder to reprint or adapt the table or figure. Well, in the case to obtain permission, well, I was analyzing this recommendation of APA, but I pay attention to may, so it's a possibility. You may do it or may not do it, yeah, because well, it will be difficult, yeah, to obtain permission for each table we should replicate, but we want to reprint. But to include copyright attribution, I think it's very, very important if you use table or figure taken from another researcher's work. Okay, and to conclude, well, to finish, Well, here again, I selected prototypical moves in the results section of articles in applied linguistics presented by WHO 2008, and you can see that there are three prototype moves in the results section. The first one, preparing for the presentation of the results sections. Well, and here you have one sub-step, reporting specific or individual results of the second step, an example of how can you write this report, and the third one, commenting on specific results. It's another step that usually is used in discussion section, but what the researcher discovered in real life, applied linguistic and foreign language teacher and researcher used commenting move in their articles when they report their results. Well, and here I have the confirmation of this. It's taken from another research of about different sections in commentary move, different steps of commentary move in applied linguistic articles. Well, and those steps are explaining the findings, the step 2, evaluating the findings. Well, and here are examples taken from this study by Lim 2010. The step 3, comparing findings with literature, and the step 4, making a recommendation for future research. Well, the step 4 is less presented in the commentary move, but the step 1, explaining the findings, evaluating the findings, comparing findings, are presented more frequently in results section. Well, and to conclude, here I have a summary of questions that you may ask when you assess the quality of your own result section. Well, so we can look at them quickly. Have I expressed myself as clear as possible? Well, have I limited myself to only reporting the key results or trends that each figure and table conveys, rather than rating each value? Have I avoided drawing conclusions? This is only true when the results is an independent section. Remember that sometimes results may be fused with the discussion, or discussion may be fused with conclusions. Okay, have I chosen the best format to present my data? Figure table. Have I ensured that there is no redundancy between the various figures and tables? Redundancy and repetition. Have I ensured that my tables or results are comprehensive in the sense that they do not exclusively include points that prove my point? Have I mentioned only what my readers specifically need to know and what I will subsequently refer to in the discussion? Have I mentioned any parts of my methodology that could have affected my results? Have I used tenses correctly? And speaking about tenses, of course, we report the results. So we use mostly past simple for the findings. Well, sometimes in passive forms. And we use present simple when we describe the established scientific fact. Well, to summarize and conclude, not all journals require a separate results section. Often it is integrated with the discussion and the section titled Results and Discussion, and it's very common for applied linguistic field. Anyway, you should consult recommendation for authors if the journal permits to combine those sections or to use them separately. If you have a separate results section, then the standard procedures is to present them with little or no interpretation or discussion. The key skill is first to decide what results are representative, and then to organize them in a sequence that highlights the answers to the aims, hypotheses, or questions that you set yourself at the beginning of the paper. In many disciplines, this involves the use of figures and tables, which are commented on in the text. In other disciplines, findings are only reported in text form. Applied linguistic researchers have a greater tendency to make comments in the results sections in research articles. So thank you very much for your attention. Here I have a list of references of sources are used to make this presentation. Well, спасибо. Thank you for your attention.